So, point guard Kyrie Irving of your NBA Brooklyn Nets is currently sidelined for the new 2021-22 NBA season. Not because of injury, but because he decided he did not want to get COVID-19 vaccinated to be eligible to play for the Brooklyn Nets in the state of New York. The state of New York is requiring all individuals to be vaccinated if they are to enter venues as a participant or just as a person, period. The state of California has also put this mandate down. So that puts the team, the Brooklyn Nets, in a situation where Kyrie, if he was to play for the Brooklyn this year, he would miss at least half the games. Of the 82, he would miss 41 because 41 games are played at home in the state of New York, and he wouldn't be eligible to play because he's not vaccinated. So the owners of Brooklyn came to a decision after talking to the coach and players and deciding, I'm sure, a very tough decision, but they came down with the hammer, so to speak, and telling Kyrie, well, it's best that you just don't show up instead of only playing half the games and being somewhat of a continuity, fluidity distraction. Would just keep you away permanently. Kyrie decided that was cool. Not that he had a say in the decision, but it seems to be after he went on his Instagram Live, he agreed, so to speak, with the decision, and he expressed his continued desire not to get vaccinated. And everybody's moving forward. But I will say this about Kyrie Irving. Even before this COVID-19 situation came up, he has established himself as being a major distraction for teams that he's played for. Before he was in Brooklyn, he was briefly in Boston. And before that, he had started his career in Cleveland for the Cavaliers. And I would say over the last 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, it has become apparent that Kyrie is really all about Kyrie and not necessarily the team, which is, hey, that's fine. I'm not hating on Kyrie for that. But Kyrie plays a team sport, and a team mindset needs to come into play at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned. And for Kyrie, it hasn't been that. He's had several off-the-court situations where he's had to remove himself from the team and just stepped away for personal reasons, for days, for games, for weeks. And he's had some different, I would say, monologue rants about issues that are non-basketball related in a basketball forum at different points during interviews and post-game interviews. And this COVID-19, I believe, is like just a tipping point for Kyrie Irving. He has positioned himself to be in the same boat that Colin Kaepernick found himself in. And that boat is what I like to call the risk outweighs the reward. Meaning nobody is going to hire Kyrie, in my opinion, beyond the Brooklyn Nets. I think he has an option for next year. It might be a player option where he can pick it up and opt in, and then he would continue his contract with the Brooklyn Nets after this current season that's about to start in about a week. So if that's the case, then he would opt into that, and then he would be contractually committed to the Brooklyn Nets. But if it's not the Brooklyn Nets, I don't think any team is going to pick up or sign Kyrie, despite Kyrie still being a great player in his prime, and still effective on the court as a player. But what he brings to the table outside of that, it's just too much for a team to risk. So it's basically the Brooklyn Nets or bust. So that's where I bring in the mantra, the risk outweighs the reward. Just like Colin Kaepernick, yes, he could still play. Not now, but in that period of time where all the controversy was going on with Colin in the NFL, there's no doubt he was good enough to play as a quarterback in the NFL, at least from at a backup level. I don't know about at a starting level, but he could at least be a backup quarterback. But teams felt like the risk outweighs the reward. It's too much for us to handle as an organization, backlash from our fans and sponsors, for us to bring in somebody like Colin Kaepernick. And I feel that's the same way that teams are going to treat Kyrie Irving post this COVID-19 situation if he decides he wants to continue to play, not for Brooklyn and for another team, and try to seek out a contract. He has established himself as being a distraction. Now, Colin Kaepernick didn't necessarily establish himself as a distraction, but the controversy surrounding him in terms of the national anthem and his stance on police brutality and things like that created an atmosphere where teams didn't want to deal with that. So they didn't want to hire him for that reason. But for Kyrie, he's talked himself into this position and his actions into this position where he's really probably unhirable. Again, whatever Kyrie believes, hey, I'm not dissing that or hating on that. Hey, you can, all of everything that he said and he's in his stance and whatever he needs to go off and do personal stuff and step away from the team, if that's what you need to do and believe in, that's fine. But you got to understand, on the back end, you're in a team sport and you have a job to do. And your job, you get paid very well for it. These basketball players get paid a lot of money. You get paid well for playing basketball. It comes down to your commitment to doing your job. And Kyrie has gotten away from that. Slowly but surely, he has cornered himself in a way where teams, I'm sure, don't feel like they would feel comfortable knowing that Kyrie would show up each and every day over an 82-game season and into the playoffs and feel like he's committed mentally to a team. So with that being said, Brooklyn is contractually committed to him because they have to be. But after this season, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Maybe they'll mutually split and Kyrie can move on. Or if it is a team option for this next contract, then I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to decline that option. And if it is a player option, when it's up to Kyrie, like I said, they might come to a conclusion or a decision where we'll just split, we'll move on. This is no longer working, Kyrie, and you can go and do what you need to do, try to get another team, or maybe leave the NBA altogether. But Kyrie is in that boat. He has jumped in and slid his way into the boat that Colin Kaepernick existed in for a handful of years, where talented and definitely able to be a presence in said league, but a team, an organization that's business. It's business, it's not personal. Would look at him and say, Mr. Irving, I like you, great player, hell of a talent, but thanks, but no thanks. The risk outweighs the reward, my brother.